Joe Piazza, welcome back to So Money with
Oh my
your
gosh.
300th book. I think what, the 14th book?
I think it's 14. Yeah, someone just asked me that, and I was like, I think I'm gonna say 14. We're going with 14 on this one.
We're going with
Yeah.
14.
Mhm.
And what a 14th book. It's called The Parisian Heist, and in your true Joe Piazza style, it has it all. There is feminism, there's history, there's richness, there's a thriller wrapped up in all of this. And of course, it takes place in one of my favorite cities, maybe my favorite actually, Paris. I mean, why didn't you invite me when you were in Paris for all the business write-offs?
I
Right.
know, for all the business write-offs.
All
I
the
did 2. I did 2 research trips to Paris and 1 to
You poor
Amsterdam.
thing.
Poor thing. Poor I started writing Parisian Heist in Paris, and I finished writing Parisian Heist in
Oh.
Paris. But I'm inviting you now because we're throwing a bash in Paris in September at an English language bookstore there, and we're
I
gonna
mean,
have like
tell
wine
me
and
the
cheese and
dates.
chocolate mousse. I think it's September 16th right now. So
I think I can make it.
great. Come. It's good. I mean, I'm on tour all summer in the United States, which will also be wonderful. But yeah, but then I cap it off with Paris.
So Parisian Heist follows two women separated by a century. Emma, she's a broke American artist in Paris who ends up cleaning penthouses for the ultra rich and eventually masterminding a heist at Musée d'Orsay. And then you've got Joe Van Gogh, who's actually a real historical widow who inherited hundreds of Vincent's paintings when the entire world thought they were worthless. She made him famous essentially through sheer determination and a hidden figure. And so you've got thriller, you've got money, legacy, what women do when the system tries to write them out and off. But tell us how this book really started for you.
Yeah, I mean, I love hearing someone else describe the book because those are all the things I love, right? Like I love talking about ambitious women who are helping one another to rise against all odds. I'm trying not to use the word patriarchy as much as I usually do, but like let's be honest, that is often the problem. This book actually came about because my friend Steven Weinberg, who's an artist and a children's book author of the book What is Color, discovered Joe's story while he was writing What is Color. It's the history and science of color. And he was researching Vincent van Gogh and found out about Joe. And he's like, oh my gosh, she's the widow of Vincent's sister. She inherited hundreds of his paintings. He'd only sold one painting while he was alive. These paintings, I don't want to call them worthless. I think that that's not the right word, but they did not hold value.
There was no market value.
They had no market value in the art world. So Joe is in her 20s. She has a sick 1-year-old baby.
Yeah.
And all she got from her husband when he passed were hundreds of his brother's paintings that she couldn't sell. And so she's like, okay, I'm gonna figure this out. And she became an art dealer during a time when women were not art dealers, and also a branding and marketing genius. She took the letters between Vincent and Theo, her late husband, and picked and chose which ones to release and when to build this entire mythology and narrative
Mm.
around Vincent, turning him into this kind of madman genius that made him so much more interesting. And so, especially, this is interesting, especially for your audience. One of the threads in the book is what makes art valuable. Like, who
Mhm.
decides that something is worth millions of dollars. And often it's because of these patrons behind the scenes or the mythology behind the artist. I think about this, in terms of Banksy all the time, right? Like, had we known who Banksy was, would anyone have cared about any of this street
Right.
art?
The enigma.
The enigma of it, and Joe created that kind of story
Really love
around
it.
Vincent, and also picked really well, like, who was going to get the paintings, and she held some back, manipulating the market so people thought that there was a lot more demand than there really was. I mean, she was just brilliant. I do not think that we would know Vincent van Gogh's name today were it not for her. And I want her name to be on the tips of people's tongues when they walk into an art museum.
And you share a name.
Yeah, we do.
Like
Although in Dutch, you do pronounce it Yo Van Gogh.
Johanna, right?
Johanna. But yes, we do share a name because my name is actually Johanna.
What? I didn't even know that. So honestly, Joe, before I turned a page in your book, I knew about Jo Van Gogh as one of the characters, and I was like, "Oh, isn't that cute?" She's like taking her name, Joe Piazza's taking her name, and then
Hmm.
this artist and combining it to create this fictional character. I had no idea she was a real
I
historical
know.
figure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Joe on Joe.
Joe on Joe, and
Yeah.
honestly could be its own miniseries. So let's go back to this world of billionaires and art.
Hmm.
The Swanson family in this book, they're a
Yeah.
dynasty of art dealers. It was very specific and real, your writing. And I'm just curious, how did you find that research? How far did you go to understand and embody this world?
Yeah. So I did a lot of research into the world of art dealing, of what makes this art valuable. And there's just a handful of families truly who control the art market. And that's a very real thing. The Swansons are fictional, but they are absolutely based in reality. And, a lot of it is on the up and up, and a lot of it isn't. There is a multi-billion-dollar shadow market of art that exists, art being sold, you know, all over the world for things like drug deals and arms deals. And oftentimes, these prominent families that are also donating to museums and selling art at auction at places like Sotheby's are also involved in this kind of shadowy dark market. Not
Mm.
always, but sometimes. And so I was fascinated by this. And if you look into some of these families, the lore around them is insane. I mean, it is just like rich people behaving badly
Give me
to
an
the
example.
max.
Give me an example.
God,
Take
I
me
mean,
to
it's
this
just
world.
so it's just like the buying and selling of islands and racehorses and
Mm.
chateaus and being cut out of wills and terrible, messy divorces where everyone just wants to spill all of the tea about everyone's affairs. Like it's all out there. I mean, I do suggest that again, like this is based on
Yeah, what are
many,
some
many
search
different things I
terms?
read.
Give us some
I'm
search
just
terms
like
for the
I would say like do some Wildenstein searching. Okay, do
Wildenstein.
a little bit of Wildenstein searching. And I mean these stories are all out there. I remember Jocelyn Wildenstein was very much on the scene as a socialite in New York when I was a gossip columnist. And again, like so all fiction, but like there are stories out there that I think people would really enjoy reading. And I love stories about rich people behaving badly. So this was
Yeah.
truly a treat for me to write them behaving even more badly than they could possibly behave in
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like some of the most expensive divorces in the world. And then you have this art, right? That like this family, the Swansons in the book, they're controlling so much about how art is priced because they're authenticating. They have like full vertical integration of art. So they're authenticating art. And then they're also creating the catalogs for a lot of the art. So like a lot of like, the like tracing the provenance and building the narratives around it. And then they're also selling it and buying it and working with the museum. So they have so
Crazy.
much control over what we see in museums, what gets bought and sold, and how art gets priced and which artists also get elevated. Which is what I find fascinating. I wanted to do this story in two timelines with some struggling female artists in Paris. I keep saying in the modern day, but it's not. It's in 1996, which I now suppose is probably historical fiction.
The 1900s.
Yeah, people are like, that's 30 years ago. And I'm like, no, it's not. It was yesterday.
Yeah.
But I wanted to.
I still have a sweater in my closet from 1996. Okay.
Same, Princeton lacrosse.
Yeah.
And so but I really wanted to set it in a time before Google and smartphones because I think that a heist and a mystery
Yeah.
are so much more fun to solve when you don't have all of the information in the world at your fingertips. And so, but then I also got to write like people like smoking in nightclubs in Paris and like Liam Gallagher and Naomi Campbell are there. So like that just makes it so much more fun. I have a really great 90s playlist that I listen to when I'm writing and editing this book, which was just a treat.
Is it on Spotify?
No, I will put it
You
on
gotta
Spotify.
make one.
I'll put it on the
You gotta make
Spotify.
one.
Yeah. So, but I wanted to see these young women in the present day who don't have a patron and who are not rich trying to make it as artists and really struggling because they don't have that privilege and that money
Yeah.
to elevate them until they become involved with this family who has both of those things.
You write a lot about women ambition, female ambition, legacy in this book. Both women in this book are fighting not be erased. Jo
Yeah.
Van Gogh from art history, Emma from a family empire that wants to use her and discard her. There's a
Mhm.
line in the press about your book that describes these two women as those who refuse to be written out of history no matter the cost.
Yeah.
So, for those listening, women in our audience, and men too, who are building their own financial legacies, what does your book and what does your research imply about how women have to fight differently than men to own their place in any institution? I think you make the point too that, or maybe it was in one of your reviewers, that like the irony being that these women get nothing and then they have to their husbands die like 20, 30 years before they outlive the husbands, and then they
Mhm.
have to somehow figure it out.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
fight for
also
it.
another layer of complexity. But what do you think this says ultimately about this fight for female financial empowerment?
I think we always have to fight so much harder. We have to be a lot savvier, and we have to start very, very early. I mean, and you do this so well and so often. I'm constantly talking to young women about financial literacy and taking control and accepting agency over your
Mhm.
finances as soon as possible. Because, one of the characters in the book, Stella, who ends up being the widow of this art dealing family, gets completely written out because she had no control over the finances.
Yeah.
And it happens to so many women. I mean, you and I were talking about Strangers the other day, right?
Right. Bell Burden.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Belle Burden. And I mean, I got thoughts on Strangers, but I think it is such a cautionary tale of many, many cautionary tales of like we have to take the power back. It's so imperative. And one of the other things that I really want to talk about with this book, and that I hope inspires young people to take control of their finances, is that since the beginning of human history, we've elevated this like mythology of the solitary male genius and constantly erased the caregivers who have gotten that person there. It's
Right.
often women, it's often a wife. Sometimes it's a husband, sometimes it's a sister or a mother. It's often a wife. And we write those people out of history who put in so much labor and often creativity as well to elevate that solitary male genius. And I think that it's time we eradicated that myth so that we give the people that are supporting those so-called geniuses their due.
Yeah. I was just reading about Dr. Seuss.
Oh,
Did you
I
hear
don't
did
know
you
this one. Tell me
Yeah.
this one.
So I don't know if
Yeah.
this is so Dr. Seuss, his second wife was essentially the one who like basically made him famous. She was his business partner, and was very she was tough, and she was the one who
Oh.
like got him the deals. And yeah, this is all based on his Wikipedia page. So I
Is
haven't
this a
done
new
the
Joe Piazza novel? The woman
Yes, I
behind
think you need
Seuss?
to I think you need to go into the world of cartoons and
Hmm.
children's books.
Great. Done. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. But I mean, there's so many of them, right? Like I think about all of
Yeah.
Ernest
Hidden
Hemingway's
Figures.
wives, Albert Einstein's wife, Robert Oppenheimer's wife, Norman Rockwell's wives.
But let's also talk about modern day, right? You've written about trad wives, and you have a culture podcast and a Substack. And so you are also very aware of just how much today too we undervalue the economic contributions of women who aren't, let's say, earning that paycheck outside of the home or
Right.
even like online,
Right.
but that and this also goes back to sort of Bell Burden and the Strangers book, which just a really quick thing on that. I think ultimately, I mean, there were so many takeaways for me on that book, but I was like, at the end of the day, her husband and the world they lived in did not value her economic value, like economic contributions. They just didn't see
Exactly.
her as having bringing any value. Like, okay, yes, you're the mom and you're the full time mom, but like, what else are you going to do? Right? How hard could it be? In the
Yeah,
absence of that
exactly.
mindset, I feel
Exactly.
like things
Yeah.
might have been different for her.
Well, exactly, exactly. Because we do not count labor in the home as paid labor, right? And so
And
I talk
money is
about this
money.
money
So,
is
like,
money. And we don't count that as support for the paycheck that's coming in. We only
right.
think about someone who goes outside of the home to earn money
The
as
privilege that comes with
the
having
privilege that
somebody at
comes
home,
with
right.
that. Yeah, the privilege that comes with having someone at home. I mean, it's really a thing that has to be completely disrupted because it has been this way since the beginning of paid labor, frankly. And we saw it a lot with the mythology around the trad wives, right? Because
Mhm.
they were performing domesticity on the internet, but these women were running media companies. I mean, that's where like the title of my book, Everyone is Lying to You, came from. Like, everyone is lying to you. Like, their content is work, content creation is work. They're just performing this for you. And oftentimes their husbands are quitting their jobs to support their
Yeah.
wives
Funny enough.
in this endeavor.
So
And
the
yet,
breadwinners, the trad
and
wives are
they're
the
the
breadwinners.
breadwinners. And yet, you know, they're promoting this messaging that I'm just a wife. I'm just a mother. I don't work. I don't control our finances, when they control everything, right?
Right.
And so I want more stories about women who are doing the work and who are getting paid for the work. And then also stories. I love the idea of being a stay-at-home mom. If that's what you want to do, cool. It's not for me. I've tried it, like in very small doses, and I'm like, this is not my joy. Okay? This is not my sweet spot. Because it's hard, because it's freaking work. It's harder than my actual job,
Yeah.
right? And so that's amazing, but also then you should have a discussion with your husband, pay me for this labor, right? Like, pay me
Yes.
for this support. I want a paycheck. I want you to be contributing to my 401k. I want you to be contributing to my retirement, my savings. Like, do not give me an allowance. Like, the idea of a woman getting an allowance, which we've seen in popular culture for so long, is such
Infantilizes the
so
wife. Yeah.
infantilizing. So infantilizing, but we see it we still see it constantly. And so no, it's like you're earning your paycheck, your income for the labor, for the value that you're adding
You know,
to this family.
You're one of the few fiction authors I have on the show, because so much of your work is like, it's real. It's real life. It translates so well and so loudly. For example, too, you write in your book about Emma and how she crosses some serious ethical lines. So she's not a clean heroine. She makes some morally complicated choices in pursuit of justice and survival. And it kind of reminded me of, you know, how our society has this double standard when it comes to bad acting women and bad acting men, right? We have very little patience, straight to the nunnery, for these women who, you know, yes, they committed some crimes maybe, you know, and they should be punished. But for men, I feel like they get second, third, 12th chances.
Yes, men get to be anything. And I say this a lot. I wrote something for Crime Reads, I think, when Everyone is Lying to You came out, about unlikable women characters. And I write a lot of unlikable women. My thing, though, with these characters is that you have to empathize with them at some point. You have to know where they're coming from. And I would like it if you'd like to sit down and have a spicy margarita with them. Okay, that's where I'm at. But because I write a lot of women anti-heroes is how I describe them. And people are often shocked. They're like, oh, that is terrible. That is the worst. And I'm like, male anti-heroes are like the best in fiction. Like, look at Tony Soprano and Don Draper and Walter White. Men can be anything, and women are expected to be like put in a box, to put in this like very highly specific mold in culture, in high culture, in pop culture. And I'm trying to write women that are many things, that are multifaceted. Like, women are also all the things, as men are all the things. And I think that we're seeing more of that now. I also think that we've actually reached the end of the tradwife era, which I think is really great. Like, I don't get served, if it weren't for yesteryear, I wouldn't get served tradwife content at all anymore, because I do not think that the women that were cosplaying this on social media are doing it anymore. Hannah Nealman of Ballerina Farm has stepped up and said, I'm running this freaking company. Same with Nara Smith, right? Like, I think that they're now coming out and saying, no, I'm essentially Martha Stewart or the pioneer woman. Like,
Right.
this is my business. But
Why
I
do you
do
think they're doing that? I'm curious. Why do you think they're doing that? What did they
Because
realize?
I think what they realized is that if they want to grow outside of a certain niche, outside of a certain online niche, and I think that all of these women want to be moguls. They want to get funding. They want to grow. I think Ballerina Farm absolutely wants to become the next Magnolia. They weren't going to do that with the majority of customers if they kept putting up this front of, okay, I'm just like cosplaying this mix of June Cleaver with Ma Ingalls, both of which are essentially fictional characters, because the real Ma Ingalls from Laura Ingalls Wilder, as we know, was not having a good time living in a hole in the side of a creek, making sure that everyone didn't get malaria.
I wonder, for that transition, you know, to go from the cosplaying of tradwife to like, okay, that was orchestration and I am actually the CEO of this company and that's a character that I play.
Mm-hmm.
But I still make really good, banana bread, buy my pots and pans, cool. But in that process, do they lose audience? Do they lose their Do they lose anything?
I honestly actually do not think that they're going to lose that much by saying, "Oh, okay, I'm also running a business," because I think that the majority of their audience are women who work, because the majority of, women work. Even, I mean,
Yeah.
I say this all the time. I hate the word stay-at-home mom, because I'm like, no one is staying. Like, what? No one is just staying in one place, right?
Right.
But I do not think that just recognizing the value of their labor and talking about it will lose them the majority of their audience. And, so many. Ballerina Farm, the brand, has 10 million followers, and so many of those are women who work outside of the home because it's pretty to look at, right? It's like idyllic. It's
Yeah.
escapism. It's like this fantasy, even though, like, I also don't want to bake sourdough because I'm not good at it. And
Well, I
I,
think that there is a I'm not saying this is my opinion, obviously, but there is this like notion out there that like when you say you're a woman who cares about money, makes the money, is the breadwinner, that somehow you lose your femininity. And this femininity is a lot of what these women are trading on. Like this is a thing, right? Like if you want to be soft and feminine and loved and taken care of, and a lot of it is like biblical, that like it doesn't work if you are also making more money than your husband.
right. Right, exactly. Well, and I think that the idea of femininity and the concept of femininity has been co-opted by the right, honestly,
Yeah.
in the past decade, right? What I'm hoping is that we can recover that. And I'm talking about the hard right. Like, I'm hoping the center can recover that, of being like, you can be so-called feminine and soft and also a person who is ambitious and makes money for your household, and your husband can also take care of your children. And like, being feminine should have nothing to do with how your household brings in money. And that is just a way, like, that idea, that false idea, is just
Mm.
a way to keep women down, to strip away our agency. And what I'm hoping is that we're entering a new, lighter period after quite a dark time. Quite a dark time. I'm more optimistic than ever now. I was not optimistic
Really?
last summer when I was on tour for Everyone Is Lying to You, because I kind of saw the writing on the wall, and I think we were in peak tradwife, and was meeting a lot of young women who were very influenced by the tradwife soft girl lifestyle. They're like, I went off birth control so that my boyfriend and I could just start making babies, and I'm going to drop out of college because it seems so nice online. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And I mean, I saw that a lot, and I'm not seeing as much on the road now. I think we've pulled back the curtain on that. I think my book did a lot to pull back the curtain on that. Also, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. We see these women, they are ambitious as hell, right? And also performing for the camera, but also supposed to be these submissive women who are saying hell no. And so I truly think, like, there's a lot of bright spots right now. I think there's a lot of bright spots,
Mm.
in terms of women getting to the place where we thought we were going to be 10, 15 years ago. But I think that we're going to get back to there.
So Belle Burden's book, I could sense there was like you wanted to say something not great about it. I don't know. I
Yeah,
think the
look, I
net
got
of it is probably a good
thoughts.
thing, right? It's getting more women. I'm reading a lot about how so many women are like, I want a prenup, I want a postnup, I need
Great.
to know how to manage the money. Great.
Great. I love that. I love the fact that it is inspiring women to take agency over their finances. Belle Burden is a beautiful writer. In a less capable writer's hands, I do not think that book would have been as good as it was, because I find the story flawed. I do not buy the fact that she was ever in financial peril. She had a lot of her own money. She had trusts. I think that she built up this idea that she was going to lose her homes, because that is such an intimate connection for a lot of
Yeah.
women. Like, oh my gosh, my homes. I'm going to lose my homes. But also, I'm using a plural right now. Like, come on. And so it made it seem like she was going to lose her safe haven. She possibly could have lost those homes, and yet she was not going to be penniless, right? That does not take away this violation or, the terrible things that her husband did, that I think we can all relate to. But I do think that the financial peril was, one, played up a little bit too much, and two, it does often amaze me when very, very smart women do just hand over this agency. It happens all of the time, and this is such a cautionary tale. But the whole time I'm reading it, I'm just like, really? Really? Because
Yeah.
we are not talking about 50 years ago. We're talking about
Yeah.
now. And yeah, I had a hard time reading the book. I think maybe also because I just cannot relate. Like, I am a person who is absolutely insane about my own finances because I grew up with financial insecurity with my parents. And so, I am truly like, I'm like, I will make my own money. I will have my own money. And like, I couldn't
Yeah.
relate
Yeah, that's
to
a really,
that.
I mean, that's a fair point. And I do wonder, because you've written so many books, you've worked with so many editors, was because the money piece of Strangers was a layered thing.
It
It
was.
wasn't
It
like
was.
it wasn't like if you took it away, like there was no story, but it was probably enough of a story. Like the stakes weren't high enough to be like, well, your husband left you now. I guess you'll get a divorce and you'll remarry and it'll
And
be
that's
difficult.
terrible.
And that's
But yeah, yeah,
terrible.
yeah.
But it
Yeah.
was like a lot. It was very cliche.
Yes.
So do you think the editors were like, we need something else that will make this feel more like there's more at stake to
Yeah, I mean,
take?
I have no idea, right? Like, I don't know
Yeah,
her
we don't know.
editors, but that said, I do know editors. I know editors and agents, right? And I know marketing people. And I myself and also friends who have written memoirs have been asked, can you up the stakes here?
Yeah.
What can we say in this book to make it more appealing? And then, or sometimes, right, like, don't up the stakes, but can you make the ending more satisfying? I'm not, again, not naming names, but we have a mutual friend who wrote a memoir, an adventurous memoir about a woman. And there were folks on the team that were like, but can it end in a proposal or a happy ending with the man? Because that will make it more satisfying to the reader.
Wow.
And she's like, no. And so, yes, like, there is often in the world of publishing, like, feedback to be like, all right, can we make an ending more satisfying? How can we raise the stakes here?
Yeah.
And so I'm sure, like, just looking at this objectively, I don't know, but like, that could have happened. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know if she lied. Maybe she
I don't think she
omitted
lied.
stuff. And honestly, like, if that was like the biggest flaw of the book, I'm so glad for it. I'm so glad for
Yes.
it.
I'm still glad for it. I'm still glad for it. I don't think she lied. I think that there are ways, and I say this all the time about influencers, I think there's just ways of curating the truth.
Yes.
Like, I do think she could have lost her houses. I don't think she would have been penniless. Like, it's often omission instead of a lie.
And I think, but it's also that he hid so much from her.
Exactly.
And that is painful. And that is actually quite relatable. I just spoke to a friend who was in a breakup with a partner. They weren't married, but they had built a life together.
Yeah.
And months after he basically just up and left, one of his investments went gangbusters.
Yes.
And there was always an understanding that they were going to share this wealth, even though they didn't have a contract. And so, well, there's your lesson. But now it's like all in flux. Like he's like, oh, you'll be happy with what I give you, as opposed to, no, you supported me actually all these years while I
all
was
these years.
taking these bets, taking these risks. And now as I'm nearing that fortune, I'm leaving. And tell me that's not calculated.
Of course it's calculated. And we see that all the time. I had a friend who was married, actually, and was divorcing her husband because of infidelity. And he timed the divorce such that it happened before he sold his company. I mean,
luck?
You
weren't looking at a calendar at all.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, my goal here is always to, like, inspire women, take agency over your life, take agency over your finances, because we do have to look out for ourselves. Even if you're married to a great man, he could die, okay? Like, he could disappear tomorrow. It's a terrible thing to think about, but like, you have to have a way to support yourself and your family structure if that man is no longer around tomorrow, regardless of how that happens.
You write so powerfully, and I just love that you're in this world so often of trying to entertain us, but also teach us so much about what's important in the real world as women, as ambitious people. And before we go, I want I want our audience to learn from you in terms of just your career arc and all of the work that you've done as a writer. A lot of people, they'll say, I want to be a writer one day, and I mean, even like 30 years ago, before AI and before technology really took over, being a writer was also it was like this romantic dream. Now
Totally.
I feel like people are just like, it's a dead end because how could I be a writer in a world where AI is writing books?
Yeah. Yeah.
What
It's,
would
I
you say
mean,
to that person?
I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I like to be very honest about this, right? I mean, I truly believe that humans writing books will continue, will transcend because we can create ideas and situations and human beings hopefully better than machines can. But I also don't know how AI is going to change the world. It's changed it so much just in the past year. It's mind blowing when you sit down to think about it. So, I mean, anyone that wants to be a writer, I say just get your butt in the seat and write. That's the advice that I give to every person who wants to be a writer. I'm like, you have to sit down and do it. It's a muscle. It's not like, I don't even think it's as much of a talent as it is a skill that you learn. And so, like, sit down, you write 500 words a day, you write 1,000 words a day, you see if you can do this thing, right? That truly is a skill. And then, yes, I mean, the process of getting publishing published is very difficult these days. That said, it's easier than ever, and this is wonderful, and this is where AI tools can actually be helpful, easier than ever to put your book out there yourself,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
market it, promote it, to have it edited, to sell it. And there's way less of a stigma against independent publishing now and self-publishing now. And so, like, that is wonderful because there are so many different ways to get your stories and your books out there outside of the very gate-kept world of traditional publishing.
And just a self-promotion here. Book to Brand, my workshop is happening October 9th.
Which I love so much. I love
It's
it.
mostly nonfiction writers and memoirists learning how to, write the book proposal. You're meeting agents, you're meeting publishers, but we've also brought in hybrid publishers. We do talk about self-publishing because we realize, if you've got a great book, you should not be gate kept.
No, you
Right?
shouldn't.
Joe Piazza, The Parisian Heist. I'm going to put it out in the world. I'm going to be in Paris in September.
You're going to be with me. We're all going to celebrate the Parisian Heist. This is the summer of the Parisian Heist, y'all. It is going
I'm
to
going to
be
follow you
Hugo Spritzes, French 75s, chocolate mousse, and French fries, even though they're not French, but come on, we love them.
in my
Frites.
future.
Frites.
Thank
I
you
can't
so
wait.
much. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. It's a
I
great
adore
book.
you. You are the
Congrats.
best.